Meningitis strikes fear into people's hearts. Meningitis is the swelling of the lining around the brain and spinal cord. When it strikes, it hits hard and fast. Untreated, it can kill. 10% of the Irish population carries the meningococcal bacteria in the back of the nose and throat. Most of us encounter the bacteria without ever becoming ill. For those who become sick, the consequences of meningitis can be devastating. In Ireland, almost 300 people contract meningitis every year. Approximately 10% of those will die. 25% will be left with a life-altering legacy, like the loss of limbs, deafness and blindness. Meningitis can be bacterial or viral. Viral meningitis is rarely life-threatening. Bacterial meningitis and septicemia, the blood-poisoning form of the disease, can be deadly. No age group is immune. Therefore, it's important to know the symptoms of meningitis. These are the stories of two families who know the human cost of life with meningitis. Karen Lewis is from Banbridge in County Down. Her son Oliver contracted meningitis in May 2007.
Sometimes I have a real problem trying to visualise Oliver before he had meningitis. It's almost like my memory started again from the 21st of May.
Karen is married to Alan and they have 3 children, Niamh, Clara and 4-year-old Oliver. The Lewis family are living with the life-altering effects meningitis had on Oliver's legs.
He puts on a sock first and then this pulls through the liner that you'll see and folds back up on itself just to hold it in place.
I lift you.
Can I lift you? You don't need lifted up the stairs, you goose.
You do all the things.
I'll do all the things. There you go. Just tuck in your vest. Every now and again someone will say something about maybe why he has them or why he doesn't have legs like everybody else, and one of us, even it might be Niamh, quite often it's Niamh, will just say, but that's because you were really sick, Oliver, and the doctors just couldn't fix your legs. And when I held him, he was just different. He just looked like such a little man, only small. And he just looked cheeky, he had a real cheeky sort of look to him, and I think that's why we like the name Oliver, because we kind of thought that it was a bit cheeky chappy and he suited it already.
I have a lightsaber.
Mary Farnan from Castleknock in Dublin is organising a black tie ball in aid of meningitis research.
Okay, this is the dress for the ball. Now it took me, it didn't actually take me long to get it in the end, but I'll probably never go to anything like this again. So I thought it was lovely.
Mary is married to Gay. They are proud parents of 3 children, Jenna, Stephen and Alan. In August 2006, Alan was a strapping 23-year-old with a rising career in car sales.
Alan was 6'4.5", and the half was very important to him. He had a very big build, big legs, big feet, big hands, big heart. Alan had a lot of friends and they were constantly in the house, the door bell going and somebody's behind sticking out of the fridge. He was really mad looking, and who else would stick photographs like with thumbtacks up on their walls? I suppose cars and boats were what he loved most, and music. He loved music. When he sang Little Musgrave, I always wondered, how does he remember all the words to that? Alan didn't like anything to do with germs. If anybody sneezed near him, he would nearly go green. He just couldn't stand germs.
In 2006, Alan's mother Mary knew very little about meningitis.
I think I knew what most parents know or think they know, that you'll find a rash and they'll be quite sick like the flu. That, I think, is the extent of what I knew about meningitis.
Oliver Lewis's mum, Karen, also knew very little about meningitis, but in the summer of 2007, all that would change.
Oliver was 20 months old when we went to Turkey, and it was a fantastic holiday. He just didn't want to leave. When we were leaving to pack up, he didn't want to go because he didn't want to leave the swimming pool and the water slides. He was fine, he was in really good health coming up to the end of the holiday.
On the flight home from Turkey, Oliver began to feel unwell. Karen's motherly instinct kicked in.
I guess in the back of my mind I thought, this isn't normal tiredness, waking up, going to sleep, waking up. And he didn't eat anything. He wanted to drink, but he wouldn't eat anything. And I said to Alan, I said, I think he's probably picked something up.
Like Oliver Lewis, Alan Farnan had also just come from a holiday, boating on the River Shannon. He was in an upbeat mood.
I think at that time he had won Best Young Navigator, and he was very, very proud of himself. Great form when he came home. Very, very proud of himself, very tanned, looked extremely well. And the Thursday morning he was going to work, and he got up and, same as usual, not a bother on him.
What started out as a normal day in the Farnan household was about to take a turn for the worst.
At around 2 o'clock, I got a call from his boss to say Alan wasn't feeling very well and he was going to bring him home. When his boss did bring him home, he couldn't get out of the car. We had to help him out of the car, help him into the house, and that wasn't Alan at all. He was complaining, "Oh, ma'am, my neck is very sore." And his temperature was 39 point something or other. So we rang the ambulance straight away. He was in hospital by 20 to 4. But we could even see him getting worse, even in the ambulance.
There are many forms of meningitis, and there are a wide range of symptoms. These symptoms often differ from adults to children. Meningitis is very difficult to diagnose. The onset of meningitis often looks like non-specific flu-like symptoms. Although meningitis can be successfully treated with antibiotics, the disease can take hold swiftly. Time is of the essence.
As time was going on, I was watching him, and he was in an awful lot of pain, and it wasn't like him to complain the way he did, and to say to me, "Ma'am, I'm scared." He was asked on a scale of 1 to 10 what was his pain, and he said 10.
In Banbridge, Karen Lewis checked Oliver through the night. His condition worsened.
It was May, so the room was fairly light, but not completely light, and I could see that he was covered in this pinprick bruising. And I put the light on. I just called for Alan. I said, I have to take him to the hospital. There's something really, really wrong with him now.
Oliver was displaying one of the classic signs of meningitis, a pinprick rash. The tumbler test is an easy way to check if the rash is a serious one. If a glass tumbler is pressed firmly against a septicemic rash, the marks will not fade. Oliver's rash was a red flag to hospital staff.
I parked in the car park and carried him up to the doors of A&E, and he was pretty floppy by then. He was pretty much lifeless. The GP who I had spoken to on the telephone was there. She met me at the doors, and I guess she knew from my description of his symptoms on the phone, so she had the antibiotic already to administer to him. So we tried to get some into his arms and his feet, but his veins had already pretty much collapsed by then. One of the paediatric consultant came in and spoke to me, told me that it was very serious. At that point they said to me that I should phone somebody. So I knew then that it was bad. So.
Mary's son Alan had no rash when he arrived at the hospital.
He was very weak. He was kind of going in and out of consciousness. His temperature wasn't coming down. His chest looked like there were aliens or something in it because his heart was beating that rapidly. His feet were freezing. His hands and arms were freezing, and yet the rest of him was just on fire. When I think about it now, I was sitting there and my husband, and we were watching our son die before our eyes. And as parents,